60 feet. A castle wall. A skull shattered against stone. Jackie Chan should have died that day, but 7 days later, he was back on set, risking everything again. The stunts were insane, but the real pain Jackie Chan endured will leave you in tears. This is the man who broke nearly every bone in his body, who survived a childhood abandoned and beaten, and who lost love and family chasing perfection. How much pain can one life endure? And what does it truly cost to become a legend the world applauds but never sees? Today, we uncover the untold story behind the stunts, the laughter, and the man who gave everything for the screen. The body that became a battlefield. The moment that defined Jackie Chan's relationship with death happened on a sunny day in Yugoslavia in 1986. He was filming Armor of God, climbing a castle wall for what seemed like a simple jump. He had done far riskier things before. But that day, fate was waiting. The branch that should have held him snapped. For one breathless moment, he fell backward through open air. Then came the sound. Skull against stone. The crew thought he was dead. Some could not look. Others ran for help. Jackie lay motionless, blood spreading beneath his head like a dark halo. When he woke, everything was white. Hospital lights humming above, a breathing tube down his throat. His hand trembled as it touched thick bandages wrapped around his skull. Beneath them, something hard and foreign. A doctor leaned close. "Your skull fractured. We had to remove a piece and replace it with a metal plate, half an inch deeper, and you would never have woken up." Jackie could not hear from his right ear. The world sounded muffled, distant. He thought he might still be dreaming. Then, he felt a single tear running down his temple. "If I can cry," he thought, "then I am still alive." 7 days later, head half-shaved, balance unsteady, he was back on set. He told the crew to film only one side of his face. The pain was blinding. His legs shook beneath him. But between takes, he joked. He laughed. He pushed on. "One more take," he whispered like a prayer. That fall should have ended him. Instead, it became the foundation of his legend. A man willing to die for his art. A performer who treated his body as an instrument to be played until it broke. But the 1986 accident was not the beginning. It was merely the most dramatic chapter in a lifetime of destruction. In Project A, he hung from a clock tower 60 feet in the air and performed the fall 3 times until it looked real enough. The impact shattered bones each time. In Police Story, he slid down a pole wrapped in electric lights. The current burned his palms to the bone. His hands were wrapped in bandages for weeks, but the shot was perfect. In Who Am I? He slid down the glass face of a skyscraper in Rotterdam. One mistake meant death. On the set of Rumble in the Bronx, he shattered his ankle after jumping onto a hovercraft. The bone pierced through skin. Rather than stop production, he had a sock painted to look like a shoe and continued filming. In Crime Story, he was nearly strangled by a malfunctioning prop. In Thunderbolt, a car stunt went wrong and crushed his leg against metal. In The Myth, he dislocated his shoulder so badly it required surgery. He was back on set within weeks. The injuries accumulated like a gruesome collection. Fractured skull, broken nose 3 times, crushed cheekbone, damaged spine, dislocated pelvis, broken fingers on both hands, shattered ankles, metal pins in both legs, permanent hearing loss in his right ear, burns across his palms and arms, scars that map every decade of his career. "People saw the laughter," he said years later. They never saw the painkillers. They never saw the ice packs. They never saw the nights I could not move. By his late 60s, the injuries had become ghosts that never left. Some mornings his knees refused to bend. Other nights, the ringing in his ears screamed louder than applause. He could no longer run the way he once did, no longer flip through the air like the boy who defied gravity. But every dawn, he still trained. Slow, silent, relentless. If I stop moving, he said, I stop being me. At 71, Jackie Chan no longer fights villains on screen. He fights time, the one rival even he cannot defeat. Every step carries an echo of that fall in Yugoslavia, the hum in his skull, the stiffness in his joints, the tremor in his hands when he holds a cup of tea. It is the rent I pay, he once said, for the life I chose. I am not brave, he whispered in an interview. I just never learned how to give up. But how did a man become willing to destroy himself for cinema? The answer lies not in fame, but in a childhood so brutal it made broken bones feel like freedom. The boy they left behind. Jackie Chan did not choose his path. It was chosen for him the day his parents walked away. Born on the 7th of April 1954 in Hong Kong, Jackie was the only child of Charles and Lily Chan, servants at the French consulate who lived in a cramped room where survival screamed louder than dreams. There was never enough food, never enough warmth, never enough of anything except hunger and the desperate hope that tomorrow might be different. When Jackie was 7 years old, his parents made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. They left for Australia to find work. They did not take their son. Instead, they enrolled him in the China Drama Academy, a brutal Peking opera school run by Master Yu Jim Yuen. They signed a 10-year contract, giving the school complete control over their child. Then they disappeared. The school was not a school. It was a factory of pain. Students woke before dawn and trained until long after midnight. 14 to 16 hours a day of acrobatics, kung fu, singing, and endless repetition. They slept on cold wooden floors. They ate whatever scraps were given. Mistakes were corrected with beatings. We trained until our bodies forgot what comfort felt like, Jackie would later recall. Sometimes I cried quietly in the dark, but when morning came, I smiled again, because pain was my only teacher. There was no tenderness in that place. No parents to comfort a crying child, no soft words after a hard fall. Just the crack of bamboo against flesh, and the understanding that weakness would be beaten out of you one way or another. By 1962, while other children played in the streets, Jackie was performing on stage with a troupe called The 7 Little Fortunes. He flipped, twisted, and flew through the air like a wounded bird that refused to fall. The audiences clapped, unaware that every smile had been built on tears. Master Yu saw something in him, not just talent, but fire, a stubbornness that could not be extinguished no matter how many times he was struck down. I did not hate my master, Jackie said years later. He made me strong. The words carried both gratitude and grief. He had traded childhood for discipline, laughter for survival, love for endurance. The boy who once waited by the window for parents who never came learned to stop waiting. He learned that the only person he could depend on was himself. And from that loneliness, he built an armor that would carry him through decades of danger. Pain did not break me, he once said. The hunger that drove him. When Jackie's training contract ended at 17, he stepped out of the opera school and into nothing. No home, no money, no family, no future. His parents were still in Australia. The city of Hong Kong sprawled before him, glittering with neon lights and cruel indifference. He wandered the back streets of Kowloon with a small suitcase, searching for a corner of the floor to call his own. Some nights, he slept under theater awnings. Other nights, beneath flickering streetlights, with his jacket pulled tight against the cold. "I did not have time to dream," he would later recall. "I just wanted to eat." He worked wherever hands were needed, washing dishes in backstreet kitchens, hauling bricks up half-built towers, cleaning tables for meals that were not his. Once, after a long day carrying cement, he begged a food stall owner for leftovers. The man threw the food on the ground and told him to leave. Jackie knelt down. "Tears need strength," he said later. "I did not have any." Then one evening, through rain and smoke, he saw something that changed everything. A stuntman flew through glass, rolled across concrete, and rose again. The crash echoed through the night. And something inside Jackie stirred. He knew that pain. He lived that fall. "I can do that," he whispered to himself. For the first time in years, he allowed himself a dream. Within weeks, he was on a film set, not as a star, as a body to be thrown. The work was brutal, but it paid enough to eat. He did not ask for safety. He did not ask for rest. "If I can fall harder," he told himself, "they will call me again." On the set of Fist of Fury in 1972, Bruce Lee hurled him across a table so hard he cracked his ribs. When the shot ended, Lee bent down and asked softly, "You okay?" Jackie smiled through the agony. For the first time, someone had cared enough to ask. But when Bruce Lee died in 1973, everything changed. Studios scrambled to find the next Bruce Lee. Jackie was cast in cheap imitations that failed miserably. New Fist of Fury flopped so badly, he was left broke and humiliated. Producers laughed at his attempts at comedy. He was nobody again. Sleeping under stairwells, invisible in a city of millions, the rise through fire. From the ashes of failure, Jackie Chan decided to stop imitating. He would become something new, something the world had never seen. He began twisting suffering into art, letting comedy leak into combat, letting humanity soften the violence. He smiled when he fell, laughed when he was hurt. It was defiance disguised as grace. Where Bruce Lee was stoic perfection, Jackie would be chaotic humanity. Where other action stars hid their pain, Jackie would make it part of the show. In 1977, a manager named Willie Chan saw something in him that others had missed. The spark inside the scars. "Do not copy anyone," Willie told him. "Be the first you." For the first time in years, Jackie felt seen. Then came Snake in The Eagle's Shadow in 1978. Jackie sat in the back row of a Hong Kong theater, wearing a borrowed jacket, heart pounding. The first fight began. His character slipped, fell, stood. The audience burst into laughter. Not mockery, joy. Jackie froze, unable to breathe, his eyes blurred. For the first time, his tears did not come from pain. When the credits rolled, he stayed long after everyone left. The empty screen glowed white before him, and in its reflection, he saw something he had not seen since childhood: hope. When Drunken Master followed, the world laughed again, this time with love. The film grossed over 6 million Hong Kong dollars. The boy who once begged for leftovers was now feeding the world with laughter. By the mid-1990s, Rumble in the Bronx had carried him to America. Rush Hour followed, grossing $244 million worldwide. Jackie Chan had become a language everyone understood. a bridge between East and West, action and comedy. His fortune swelled past $400 million. His name blazed across billboards on every continent. He owned production companies, a cinema chain, restaurants. But the higher he climbed, the lonelier it became. Sometimes after a premiere, he would slip back into the empty theater and bow to the rows of empty seats, because gratitude, for him, was not performance. It was prayer, the love he lost, and the family he broke. Fame brought Jackie Chan everything, except the one thing he truly needed: peace. The first woman to reach his heart was Teresa Teng, the angelic voice that lulled all of Asia to sleep. They met in 1981 through friends at a gathering in Hong Kong. She was grace personified. He was chaos with a heartbeat. When she smiled at him, the man who spent his life falling did not want to move. Their worlds could not have been more different. Hers was melody and moonlight, his was bruises and broken glass. Yet somehow they found each other in the stillness between two lives, moving too fast. She would sing softly for him in dimly lit rooms while he sat in silence, afraid to breathe. "She taught me gentleness," he would later say, "but I learned it too late." For a brief time, they had peace. She dragged him away from sets to watch sunsets. She made soup when he came home limping. She told him to save some strength for himself. But fame grew louder. His films multiplied. The calls, the travel. Missing her songs. Missing her. She wanted the man, not the legend. And legends are never home. By 1984, the silence between them had grown too heavy. One night, she left a letter on his piano and walked away before dawn. 5 words: "Take care of yourself always." He kept that letter for years. He never answered it. In 1995, while Jackie was filming overseas, his phone rang. Teresa Teng had died. An asthma attack. She was 42 years old. Jackie locked himself in his hotel room and wept until his voice broke. "I cried like a child," he said. But while Teresa was still alive, Jackie had already begun building a different life. In 1982, actress Joan Lynn discovered she was pregnant with his child. Jackie, torn between guilt and duty, married her quietly in Los Angeles. Their son JC was born that December. Joan gave up her career at its peak to raise their child. The woman, once adored by millions, now lived behind drawn curtains while the world applauded her husband. Her silence became her sacrifice. She did not need to be seen. She just wanted to be remembered by him. But Jackie was rarely home. By the late 1980 seconds, he was filming 3 to 4 movies a year. Every phone call was rushed, every visit brief. His son fell asleep beside the phone, waiting to hear his father's voice. Then in 1999, the storm arrived. Jackie had an affair with Elaine Ng, a former Miss Asia. When she became pregnant, the news exploded across every newspaper in Asia. Reporters surrounded their home. Camera flashes cut through the night. Inside, Joan Lynn folded the morning paper, placed it beside her untouched tea, and stared out the window. She did not shout. She did not cry. "People think silence is weakness," she would later say. But sometimes, silence is the only way to keep your soul from breaking. Weeks later, Jackie returned home. Joan waited at the same table where the tea had gone cold. He hesitated in the doorway like a stranger. She did not ask questions. She simply said, "Eat something." It was not forgiveness. It was grace. "She saved me without words," Jackie said years later. And that silence became my lesson for life. The children he could not reach, The affair produced a daughter named Etta. Jackie acknowledged her existence, but never built a relationship with her. For 19 years, she grew up without her father's voice, without his presence. In 2018, at just 19 years old, Etta posted a video online. "We have been homeless for a month. No one is helping us. Not even my parents." The world gasped. How could the daughter of one of the richest men in Asia be living under bridges? Jackie remained silent. Not from coldness, but from paralysis. The fear that after 19 years of absence, any words would only hurt more. "As long as she is happy," he finally said years later. A small sentence, but for a man who spent decades running from emotion, it was the sound of a heart cracking open. His son JC carried different wounds. He grew up seeing his father on television more than in person. When he turned 18, he followed Jackie into entertainment. But everywhere he went, the same label followed: Jackie Chan's son. In August 2014, JC was arrested in Beijing for drug possession. His name splashed across headlines that once glorified his father. Jackie was in a meeting when his phone rang. When he saw the news, he lowered his head. His hands trembled. For the first time, he said later, "I felt ashamed of my own name." JC spent 6 months in detention. Jackie could not bring himself to visit, not because he did not care, because he did not know how to face the son he had left behind. "I wrote letters," he admitted, "but I never sent them." When asked if he would leave his $400 million fortune to his son, Jackie smiled faintly. "If he is capable, he can make his own. If not, he will waste mine." The world called it cruel. For Jackie, it was principle. A man who came from nothing, trying to ensure his son would not be destroyed by everything. But late at night, those words echo back like ghosts. The birthdays missed, the calls unanswered, the faces that grew older without him. "I have done 1,000 stunts and broken 100 bones," Jackie once said. "But nothing hurt like watching my son fall." The man behind the legend. At 71 years old, Jackie Chan no longer leaps from buildings. The body that entertained billions has become a map of consequences. His knees refuse to bend some mornings. His ear still rings from that fall in 1986. His spine aches with every weather change. But every dawn, he still trains. Slower, gentler, relentless. "If I stop moving." He lives between two worlds now, a Beijing villa where koi swim beneath a red bridge and sandalwood fills his study, a Beverly Hills mansion worth $25 million where magnolias bloom each spring. His garage holds a Bugatti Veyron, a Bentley, a Lamborghini. His wrist carries watches worth millions. But the greatest treasure is the woman who stayed. Joan Lin moves through their home like a calm breeze. She prepares his tea each morning, still reminding him to drink it before it cools. "She saved me," Jackie says softly. "Not from danger, but from myself." They share meals at a small wooden table, often in silence. Not because words are missing, because they are no longer needed. Jackie has vowed to give away most of his fortune. Through his charitable foundation, he has donated over $65 million to education, disaster relief, and children in need. His will directs that the majority of his wealth will go to humanitarian causes. "Money is temporary," he says. "Goodness lasts longer." When young actors ask for advice, his voice carries no arrogance, only grace. "Do not chase fame, chase mastery. Fame will follow when your work is honest." He visits his parents' graves. He writes letters he never sends. He watches old footage of himself and does not see glory. He sees the spaces between the frames, the moments he missed, the people he lost. "I spent my life falling," he once said, "and every time I stood back up, I realized I was closer to who I was meant to be." Jackie Chan's journey does not end when the cameras stop rolling. Every scar, every sacrifice, every moment of pain tells the story of a man who gave everything for the world to witness, but whose greatest battles were fought in silence. At 71, he no longer fights villains on screen. Yet he continues to confront time, regret, and the echoes of choices he cannot undo. Behind the laughter, the stunts, and the applause lies a life of relentless perseverance. A life that proves greatness is never without cost. In every fall, every scar, every laugh that hid the pain, Jackie Chan reminds us of the ultimate truth. The most extraordinary feats are not those we perform for the world. They are the ones we survive within ourselves. And even now, his story is far from over.